Like and subscribe right now, or you're gonna have terrible luck for the next week. A hike through the woods is not only fun, but has tons of mental and physical benefits. But the thing is, you're never really sure what you might just stumble into. The next time you're out there in the wild, it'll help if you don't think about the following 10 creepiest things that were found in the woods. Number 10. Leleon. Kicking off our list is Leleon, an unknown figure that has been common in Switzerland's woods of Maules. According to media reports and accounts of those who've seen the strange person, she walks around with a military uniform, has the face covered with a gas mask, and is draped in a long cloak. That has been the signature look for the over 10 years that the creature has been said to frequent a specific path in the woods of Maules. Reports of the creepy creature date back to at least 2003, but the first photo was taken in 2013, according to the Daily Mail. While Leleon has never spoken to anyone, adding even more to its creepy nature, there are no reports of the creature harming or trying to attack the locals. But that doesn't mean residents are comfortable with the idea of bumping into the strange military figure. Some people have decided to stop going into the forest altogether, lest they come across Leleon. As to who or what it is, it still remains a mystery. It's been suggested that it could be someone with a serious skin condition, a mentally ill woman, or just some exceptionally big man. Number 9. A gravestone. Of all creepy things you could find in the woods, anything connected to a dead person is the last you'd wish for. Well, unless you identify as a cemetery explorer, in which case, you'd be delighted. One such explorer ran into a long-lost gravestone of a young woman called Mary Holmes. According to the explorer, he was looking for something else when he chanced upon the rather startling discovery in Santa Cruz County, California. But who was Mary Holmes? According to a local historian, she was a 21-year-old English-born woman who immigrated to the US. Initially, she traveled around a lot, but later in Santa Cruz, where she fell into prostitution. Aside from her well-known career, she also had other personal problems that stressed her out a great deal. So in 1898, she gulped down carbolic acid, which killed her in about 15 minutes. And while she seemed to have been without relatives, letters dated 1927 hint that she had a daughter. The writings were sad and addressed to a grandma, supposedly Miss Holmes' mother. A part of one of the letters read, "Today I found where Mama died. It was here in Santa Cruz, and she must have been so unhappy, for the newspaper said that she died by her own hand. Oh God, it was so horrible. While here, she was called Mary Holmes. They buried her at the Evergreen Cemetery, and it is such a lovely place, tucked into the bottom of a small mountain, and so it is over for us, grandmother. It is finally over." Number 8. A bunker. In 2014, a guy, while visiting his friend in Germany, decided to explore what looked like a World War II bunker that had long been abandoned. Though they looked at just a tiny part of it, they sure did see enough to spook anyone off. They ran into several dead ends following the eerie hallways that, as they described, looked like those you'd find in hospitals. That and the fact that it was pitch dark down there made it all creepy and a bit scary to even enter in the first place. The underground tunnels had been worn out over the years, as you'd expect. Deeper into the tunnel work, it was lined with numerous heavy safe doors, which means there might have been something important to protect as you go deeper. Whatever it was, it seemed to have been replaced with largely empty and flooded rooms. Also, the walls were occasionally sprayed with rather unsettling graffiti. Number 7. Clowns. Clowns aren't usually the type you can term as creepy, but that's only if they're where they're supposed to be, in some circus or park goofing around with kids. So, when you see them in the woods where they're acting in a not-so-goofy way, it's a guarantee that they're going to creep out a lot of people. That's what happened in Greenville, South Carolina in 2016. There were multiple reports, both from adults and children, about strange clowns with green laser lights lurking around in the dark. In some instances, they even tried to lure kids using large amounts of money. Clearly, the clowns were just some people with particularly not-so-good motives hiding behind costumes. Following the clown sightings, parents around the apartment complex near the woods were told to keep an eye out just in case. Number 6. Breathing Earth. In 2018, a video filmed in a forest in Sacré-Cœur in Quebec, Canada, showed part of the ground moving up and down, similar to a breathing motion. Of course, this was quite strange since ground movement is largely a result of an earthquake, which, in this case, was non-existent. So what was it? The most likely explanation would have been that there are some giants asleep under the ground and their large nostrils blow and draw enough air to affect the ground, but experts came through to give a more logical and convincing answer. First off, the winds were pretty strong at the time of recording, as you can tell from the video. That and the fact that the forest floor is moss-covered means the roots aren't as firmly anchored as they should be. So with every blow of the wind, the sway exerted on the trees is transmitted all the way to the roots that slightly pull up on the ground, creating an impression of breathing. And with strong enough sustained wind action, the trees could actually get uprooted. Number 5. A backpack. A Reddit user once told a story of how he ran into a backpack that had been abandoned for quite some time by the looks of it. It spotted considerable termite damage, so it was safe to assume whoever the owner was, he or she had long forgotten about it along with its contents, a binder and a notebook. Interestingly though, the backpack's contents hadn't taken as much damage according to the Reddit user. While the binder was decaying, the book itself was pretty pristine. Having checked out the backpack, our guy left to inform his parents about the little discovery, but when he came back, everything had vanished. The backpack, the termites, the decaying binder, and the notebook were gone, and there wasn't a single sign of them. Did someone carry the backpack away? Quite possible, but then, how come there weren't any footprints, according to the Reddit user? And that's considering that the poster's footprints were still there. That's as creepy as it can get. Number 4. A cabin. For a larger part, you don't expect to find permanent settlements in the woods. Aside from the isolation, the woods are public land, so trying to set up a permanent settlement will attract legal trouble. But these were of little concern to an unnamed person who had constructed a cabin in the Arcata Community Forest in California. Discovered by the town's Environmental Services Director Mark Andre, the cabin was well tucked away in a secluded spot that it was only visible within a distance of 12 feet. It was a bit of a surprise for Andre since he considered himself to have explored pretty much every corner of the forest. And it wasn't just a badly constructed structure. While it was clearly a makeshift piece of real estate, the owner had put some serious thought into it to the extent of setting up on a solid concrete foundation. However, there appeared to be no path that led to this forest abode, so it wasn't clear how the owner accessed and left it. Inside the cabin was well furnished and lined with what you'd expect to find in an average house: some furniture, utensils, and housekeeping supplies. There was also a to-do list, so the owner was probably a very organized person. The only possible identification on site were 2 driver's licenses, which had different names, so they weren't exactly helpful in pinpointing the cabin's owner. Mark and his search party decided to just leave behind an eviction notice since the residence was illegal. A few days later, they returned to find the cabin gone, perfectly deconstructed, leaving behind nothing. In its place, a squatter symbol had been drawn in charcoal. Number 3. A hooded figure. Our third creepy finding is a bit different from the rest. While the others were actually in the woods, the hooded figure could only be seen in photos. Yes, this is one of those photos where a teeny detail turns up long after it's been taken. In this case, there is a person-like creature that, by the photographer's account, wasn't present when the picture was taken. It's like the creature photobombed the moment real quick and disappeared before anyone could notice its presence. But given the location of the photograph, it's hard to imagine that happening. Someone would have certainly seen the hooded figure. I guess this is one of those mysteries that will never be solved for ages. On the bright side, it's a relief that the guy in the photo didn't fall off the cliff's edge.
Now it's time for today's best pick.
Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber, so if you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it in a future video. Number 2. Koala Corpse. It's hard to tell what exactly this figure is, but according to close enough internet tales, it's a koala corpse, and the picture was captured somewhere in Australia by a hiker. Now, there are a lot of questions concerning the corpse, and if it's truly that of a koala. The most obvious one is about the size. It's clearly way bigger than what you'd expect of a koala, so it could have been some other large marsupial. On the other hand, it's also possible that it's actually a normal-sized koala, but a camera angle made it look bigger. The other concern is how the corpse got mummified out there in the wild. We can throw around a few guesses about the size, but this is a bit tough. What do you think aided the mummification process? Sound off in the comments below if you have any ideas.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works.
Number 1. Cow tongues nailed to trees. In Brooklyn, New York, some people decided that having cow tongues on trees was a good idea. So they went out of their way to gather 15 tongues, reportedly from a butcher shop, and nailed each one of them on different trees around Peninsula Meadow near Prospect Lake. Park officials were shocked to discover the tongues and could neither tell who hung the animal parts nor why they did that. But according to media reports, this could have well been a religious ritual. Apparently, some cults and other less-known religious sects have a fondness for hanging animal tongues, which supposedly helps in silencing enemies.